I'm Laura Lindsey. I'm the soybean and small grain agronomist at Ohio State. Today I'm in Western Ohio with Greg McGlinch, and we're going to talk about what he does for cover crops at his farm. So Greg, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been farming?
I live here in Western Ohio, where fifth generation grain and livestock farmer. We've been integrating cover crops as in the beginning as a soil erosion tool, but we've progressed to move on to using them as weed suppression, nutrient building, rotation, pest management. So a whole host of things that we've been utilizing them for and seeing some benefits, not only in crop production, but in the health of our soils.
So we're getting into fall season, which is when we plant cover crops. Do you plant the same species across all of your acres, or do you look at different cover crop species?
So I look at trying to use a variety of species across the acres. And a lot of it's timing and understanding what our crop rotations are. For example, knowing that, say, corn is generally going to come off just a little later than soybeans, we got to push more into some of those cool season crops or overwintering crops. Now, we also know that we do have the ability to do some aerial seeding with drones that are pretty very cost effective now. So if we can hit certain timings and, of course, moisture, we can do that. Mid-September, late September, we can generally fly on either some oats and radish and turnips, along with maybe some clovers, with pretty good establishment and success. Now, it all hinges on rain. So that's kind of one of the things that we look into. And knowing that some of my soybeans, so I will tend to plant several different groups of soybeans, ranging from like a 2.5 to 3.4, knowing that my 2.5s are generally going to come off a little bit earlier, where I can utilize some different mixes or species of cover crops, like some oats and radish and stuff like that, where I can target that and move forward, knowing that I'm going from the soybean to the corn, and try to pull back on some of my cereal rye or small grains.
So in Ohio, we have a limited growing season, and so cover crop establishment can be really challenging. So what factors do you consider when you decide to plant cover crops? What's the best timing?
We look at, application methods. So using a drone, we are able to get in there a little sooner and make those applications. Now, as we get further in the season, say our corn harvest is delayed until end of October, beginning of November. So if we're getting later in the season, I'd much rather use a crop or a cover crop that's like a cereal rye or triticale, just because they're really they can handle the weather, and the majority of the time you're rotating back to soybeans, so you don't have some of those concerns. So and it's weather dependent always, but I'll always have some rye sitting in the background ready to go. And then if it's earlier in the season, I like to mix up some barley and some oats or some of those different crops to just bring a little diversity in the mix.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about seeding with a drone versus a drill? Like, what are some adjustments you make when you're using a drone to seed versus something else?
So the first thing with a drone, the first thing you have to figure in is you have to increase your seeding rates. Same thing if you use a plane or anything else. That seed's being dispersed at a wide area. You're not having that seed to soil contact like you would with a direct seeding with a drill. So rule of thumb, try to increase it by 20%, whatever you're using. Now, when we're drilling, I will do a couple things when we go into drilling equipment wise. If I do a mix or a blend per se, I will actually take tubes off each of the drills and measure how much seed I'm putting on the acre, so I get a better idea especially since we've got different seed size, and so forth. Now, one thing I've noticed with drone applications too is if the drone applicator does not make a boundary, does not spread the boundary, sometimes you will not have cover crop growth along the outside of the field. That's my 2 cents, though. Hopefully that makes sense for everyone out there. Who knows?
Some really helpful tips, and I think Greg's spot on. If you're gonna do it, you should do it right.
Yeah,
and going slow and checking and making sure you know what's going on.
Right, because here's what happens. If you don't have a good stand out there of cover crop, you are giving so much opportunity for a lot of your winter annuals to establish. Like, you should be trying to suppress those weeds.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for your time, Greg.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep.